good day, gents and ladies, and welcome to another episode of RoadFS Detail Memoirs, where we are exploring tips and tricks to make your business better. My name's Jody.
And I am still Rod, no matter how you look at it. And today we have, again, in our Business 101 series, a wonderful guest, Mr. Prentice St. Clair. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm just so happy you haven't found somebody else because I keep coming back.
Well, you're doing a great job, and we still have topics to cover with you. And after that, we'll see what happens.
Guys, you've had months to find somebody, so
they still
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, Jody still has me on here, so that hasn't changed.
That's true.
So we're getting good feedback on this. A lot of people. I think this is something people really need, but they don't know how to ask. I think that's one of the biggest things: is how does somebody approach the topic of money management. Gosh, Prentice, I don't know how to handle my money. What should I do? And I don't think people will reach out and do that, but it's a huge topic that I don't know if they understand.
Yeah, money's always a challenge. And in this industry, traditionally detailers have been cheap, and I'm just going to say that. And, we're just cheap because usually we don't have the right mentality for valuing the service that we're providing, thus pricing it correctly, thus making enough money so you don't have to be so darn cheap. And it's really easy to get into detailing. You throw a couple of bottles in a bucket and a hose in the back of your car. And by the way, there have been many successful detailers who started that way. I'm not dissing that in a sense. But there's a lot of people that don't get out of that. They just keep doing the same cheap approach to detailing. We all have to start out somewhere. I totally get it. But the sooner you can get out of that rut and get out of that cheapness, the more you're going to prosper. And, if you have customers that are just loving the level of service that you provide, and I can go back to the early 90s when I was doing detailing as a avocation a couple of weekends a month, and I didn't have anything for equipment. I didn't have polishers. I didn't have an extractor. I didn't have any of this fancy stuff. I had a vacuum. I had some specialty chemicals, a couple of buckets, but people still said when I was done, oh my gosh, the car looks spectacular. It took me all day. So if you can get those kinds of customers that love what you're doing, then you're on the right track. Now you need to start charging for what you're providing so you can make the money, so you can start investing that money into your business and start getting some serious equipment and chemicals, which will help you make more money. It just keeps cycling up like that if you do it right. So, we start there. The first thing you got to do when you're talking about money management in a detail business is you have to have a separate bank account. You cannot mingle your personal and your business checking. And there's a lot of banks out there that'll do free business checking, or very low expense business checking. And this is really important too. I recommend, and you don't have to take this, but I recommend going with a more local bank, a bank that's in your community, that knows the community, because they're going to be more friendly to local businesses. And if you're trying to establish a legitimate business, they're going to help you out in any way they can. I've been a member of a local bank since, I don't even know when, since the late 90s. And it's been fantastic. And there've been a number of times when I've needed a little help. They help me out. Personal service, they help me out. And you can join Chase and Bank of America and all those other, Wells Fargo and whatever. I shouldn't say any names, but whatever, I did. But you're not going to get that personal service. And there's a lot of fees involved. So I do recommend going with a local bank. You can always switch if it makes sense down the line. And then the local bank is probably going to be more willing to help you out in the event that at some point that you need a business loan. Say you're going to go into a brick and mortar situation, you need some money for that. If they know you've been there for 2, 3, 4 years, they know you don't bounce checks, then they're more likely to help you out with that than one of these larger banks who really are looking for big money. So separate bank account, and definitely go with a local bank.
Yeah, and I think the other thing there is you mentioned at the beginning is put a plan together, even if it's just a rough sketch of where you want to be, what kind of a business you
Right.
want it to be. Like you said, we all do things that we need to do. I mean, I saw that guy the other day on a forum that was really excited because he bought a used shop vac at a yard sale. That's fantastic. If that's what you've got to do, do it. If you can spend $20, and it was literally like a brand new vacuum, so it was a really good buy. And it was a rigid vacuum cleaner. It was a nice, do those things, but then set your goal of where you want to be. And I think people need to understand there's a difference between a get rich quick and making a successful business.
Right.
Yes, everybody loves to look at somebody that's very, very wealthy and go, that's what I want to do. That's not a business model. That's just looking at somebody that's got more than you.
And you better believe that most of those people had a plan in place. And it could be as simple as, setting some goals as well. Let's say you start out with that big box shop vac, and because it's inexpensive, but then you're looking at what the other people doing, you're following Instagrams and whatnot, and you find out, well, that's the vacuum that I need to get. Well, then you put that as your goal and you say, how much money do I need to make to get to that vacuum? Which then is going to help you do better work. And we're going to talk about this in the supply side. You need things that help you work better, do better results faster. And that's what the machinery can do. And, another thing we're getting more into supply. This really could be a combined thing. But another thing is that don't get caught up into what other people are doing. Okay. I've seen some big fancy layouts in shops and vans. I've known people that have shelled out tens of thousands of dollars for the state-of-the-art shop or the state-of-the-art van. And guess what? In a couple of years, they're folded and they got all this debt.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't mean success if you have all that. It might be a little embarrassing for me to tell you how simple my mobile setup was. I didn't even have a water tank. I didn't have an expensive generator. I didn't even have a pressure washer. I just worked off of everything at the customer's house, and never once in decades of mobile detailing has somebody ever said, "You don't have your own water?" Okay. Yeah. So, but that's private residences. If you're going to go work in an office building in a parking lot, you've got to bring your water. You've got to bring your power. Don't get caught up in having the absolute best at the beginning. Get stuff that works at the beginning, and then you can invest in higher end stuff later on down the line. And then it goes with what you're saying, Rod, is the planning for that purchase, not just saying, yeah, I'm going to get that someday. If you say I'm going to get that someday, it's not going to happen, because that's also going to back you up into how much money am I making today to help me get that piece of equipment down the line. And you can back it up, and then you can realize, gee, if I raise my prices $10, I'm going to get that a month sooner. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I had a really good conversation with a mobile detailer, and he said, look, he goes, I have a 3-year plan to go from mobile to being in the shop. And what I've done is I've set up my money management in a way where I am taking 15% of my intake and I am setting it aside for that shop. And I'm protecting it. And then I'm taking another 15% and I'm setting that aside for marketing and equipment as I need it. But I'm trying to be very deliberate in how I manage my money as it's coming in. And he goes, yeah, sometimes it's really straining, but I found that if I discipline myself, I know that, in 3 years, I'm going to be able to accomplish that goal because I've set up a foundation to ensure that happens.
Yeah.
And that's true for any of these plans that we're talking about. It could be setting up a shop. It could be getting one piece of equipment. You decide how much it's going to take, and then you can take a percentage of your intake. The old saying is you should pay yourself first, which means take a percentage of whatever you're making and set it aside in a savings account for future purposes, for emergencies, for whatever, instead of just spending everything that you make. And, if you're starting out and you're not fortunate enough to have a big wad of money laying around to invest in your business, you've really got to be frugal. I mean, running your own business is a frugal thing, and it means sacrifices. And you look at some of the stories of some of the biggest business owners that we know out there and how they started. People working in their own garage, okay, with nothing, and eating top ramen every day. And that's the way we've got to be. You've got to, just because you're in a business doesn't mean you get to have a luxurious life. You're working toward that, but right now at your starting time, you need to really draw back and say, okay, cut out all the fat and say all my extra money goes back into the business. And so that'll get you to that next level where maybe in a few years you start making a lot of extra money. You can have a more enjoyable lifestyle, because at the end of the day, it should be about your lifestyle eventually.
Right. And I think part of the problem there is that don't believe everything you see on the internet.
Yes.
Half of the people out there that are touting the fancy watches and the cars and all that's not reality.
It's all show.
That's not how they're living. And to belittle yourself or think that you're not being successful because, gosh, I can't afford that, or I'm not driving a Ferrari or whatever. Don't. That's all fake. It's like the rest of life. That's not really how people are. You don't know. There are books written about multimillionaires. You don't know who the multimillionaires around you are because they're not the ones with all the flashy stuff. So you got to be able to be frugal. And you said it best. It's your lifestyle. It's not following somebody else's footsteps.
Hey, look, I'm not shy about my detail business is a 6-figure business. No fancy watches, baby.
Yep. And that's how it should be. Your business has 2 goals. Your business is to stay in business and to make money. At the core of a business, stay in business, make money. If you are doing something that affects one of those things, you need to stop. If you're affecting it not making money, or if you're affecting it not staying in business because you're out buying too much fancy stuff, or sometimes you go too fast. There's a statement Jody and I have on a whiteboard, and it comes so true. It's slow down to move faster. Sometimes you need to just slow down, and then you can figure out how to get yourself where you want to be a lot faster, because you're not just grinding it out. You just slow down, make a plan, go to the bank. That's what they're there for. Talk to those people. One of the smartest pieces of advice I ever got. I am friends with the gentleman who he is a financial person at a company that is over $50 million a year in revenue. And I've asked him a lot of advice. And one of the smartest things ever was get your stuff together so you can go to bank and get a revolving line of credit for your business. Yeah. Because in the times when you need a little cash, you can bring it in, and it's a loan. You have to pay it back, but you can just keep reusing it. Go get a line of credit. And then you can fund stuff. You can buy equipment. When something breaks, you just go buy it. You don't have to go, oh no, my extractor died. What am I going to do? You just go get another one and pay it back.
And that's again, it's going to be the advantage of having that small bank, that smaller institution relationship. Go ahead.
And if you do opt to get a line of credit like that, a revolving line of credit, it is really important that you use it and pay it off.
Yes.
The bank likes to see you using it and paying it off. They like to see that you have the power, one, to use it when you need to, but also get it paid off really quick. They like that pattern, right? So,
well, also it's good for you. It's really not good to be in debt, and it's very easy. And I've done it. We've all done it. You've got that extra line of credit, and you have to put a $3,000 whatever on it. And then, the next month comes around and I could pay some of it off, but, I really want to use that money elsewhere. Now, you got to be disciplined about that, knocking that sucker down.
Yeah. One of the things that I do with that is...
The other thing you want to do is you want to have, if you do have a credit card, have a separate one for your business.
Yes.
A separate one, and you got to keep those records separate.
Yep. And one of the things that you want to keep your eye on is, as far as your expenses go, at the end of the year, you have to have expenses to be a business. You want to make sure that you pay that credit card every month. If you charge $3,500, pay off $3,500. Because if you let it grow and all of a sudden now you owe 10 grand, 3 months from now, if you pay that 10 grand, you can't count that as expenses. It counts in the month that you spent it. So you have to go back and pay that off. And one of the things that I started being a more disciplined about with our company is I keep the checking account low. I want that line of credit to be what I use. Payroll comes in, I pull it all out of the line, I put it in there, I pay the payroll off, and then when money comes in from a customer, it goes back into that line of credit. Use your money. You've got to be in there every single day looking at your books. That seems like a lot for a small business, but if you're not in there tracking where the money is and where it's going and running reports and doing all that stuff, you're not keeping up on it.
Right. So we've talked about separate checking accounts, separate credit card, line of credit, all that for your business. And then, you get into, with some of your suppliers, hopefully you're going to an actual detail distributor, detailing supply distributor, who may even be able to work with you on a line of credit with them as well. So you don't have to, pay that all out. Although I would be very careful with that. Don't get lazy and sloppy with that. The other thing too is there's a number of interest-free payment options available out there. It's amazing how they keep popping up. Take advantage of those. For many years, I used the PayPal or PayPal credit on larger purchases where it was available because you get 6 months to pay with no interest. Now, you got to be really disciplined about setting up that automatic payment plan.
Right. And
that's really cool, is just setting up those payment plans that come right out of your business checking account. So you don't have to think about it. It just happens.
Yep.
And there are some, independent, lots of different, 6 months, no interest, 12 months, no interest. So if you are thinking you got to go for that bigger piece of equipment because it makes sense at this particular time to do that, see if you can do that on an extended payment plan with no interest.
Right.
Okay, that's the key. And then pay it off, because a lot of times those no interest extended periods, if you don't pay it off, they're going to hit you with like 26% interest on the whole thing.
Yep.
So you got to be really disciplined about doing it, but it is possible. And, money, when you start a business, you basically make a job for yourself. You've invented a job for yourself. But guess what? When you go to a paying job, they have all kinds of people that are running everything in the background, the payroll, the supply, the accounting, all that's getting run in the background. You never see it. Now that you have a business, you have to do all that. All right. So you work 9 to 5, busting your rear end, cleaning cars. You got to go home and spend a couple hours, or get up early that next morning, spend a couple hours on your paperwork and make sure all that stuff is taken care of. So,
and automate stuff. That's another one.
As much as possible.
Automatic payments. Make sure you keep track of your records, put them in a computer system, because that can all help you. When you go to a bank, they're going to ask you what you do. And if you take them a shoebox, that's not good. You've got to have your
and that's where, the concept of mobile software too is really huge, because that can help you with all that tracking. You can input all of each one of your receipts for the day. You can input your the income, whether it's cash or credit card or whatever. You get it all in there, and that way you have an instant record of it. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and then you can take that to the bank. I mean, and we're dead serious. You can take those things to the bank, and you can say, this is the again, Jody mentions the person that wants to have a shop that's mobile. You can show them all your records. This is what I do for revenue, and this is what it's going to do by getting a shop. And the banks are there to help you. Go, like you said, go to a local bank, meet the person, get someone you like. We've gone through different banks, and we found people we actually liked that helped us get where we wanted to be.
Correct. Yep. And that can also help you establish relationships in the community too, because usually the manager of a local bank knows a lot of businesses in the local community. And I'm so big on networking. It's so important. I've got my, probably 95% of my detailing business has been built through networking and referrals. So that's huge. So, and then you talked about the importance of being able to bring your documentation to the bank in case you want to get that business loan. So that's where your bookkeeping and your record keeping come into play. And we have talked about this a little bit before, but at a minimum, get a spiral notebook or get a paper and pencil calendar so you can write down each day what you're making. I did that wash for $75. I did that complete detail for $350. So at least you've got a record of it that maybe later you can go and input into Excel or into QuickBooks or something like that, or that one there, right?
But the importance of that is, again, as you're emphasizing, is you've got to keep track of it. Don't just
Got to keep track.
Don't live hand to mouth, because that is never going to get you where you want to be. Again, set your goals, keep track of what you're doing. Think about it like a business. It is a business, and it has its own life. As soon as you start it off,
Right.
Your local community wants you to succeed. Most local communities want their small businesses to succeed, and they want them to flourish.
Right. And then work with a bookkeeper to help you set up, your accounting system, and then so that you can generate profit and loss statements. And a profit and loss statement at the end of each month is going to help you determine where your expenses are going, where your money's going out, and also how much money you're actually making. And you can also track, like, where's your money coming from. I've always been a big fan of tracking actually where my money's coming from as far as the referrals concerned. How much am I making from my late tip group? How much am I making from my local networking group? How much am I making from my my Yelp page? Free Yelp page, by the way, I never pay. Just all the different ways where money comes in. That way I can see at the end of the year, or even just at the end of the month, which one of these is paying me the most. I can focus a little more effort into that area.
Exactly. Yeah. And just as important, to focus more time on this and energy and money on this area, and stop focusing on this one. If that area is not making you money, if you're like,
forget about
it. I'm not making any money doing that. No. Stop doing it.
No, for example, there's a local community group here in San Diego, and I won't name it because it doesn't matter. But it's in the area. It's in, there's about 3 zip codes in the community that I serve, and it's one of those 3 zip codes. And I thought, well, I'm going to join that Merchants Association. Makes sense. You get a listing in there on their website. You get this, you get that, the other thing. Years and years of that, I get nothing out of it. Not even 1 cent. So I said, forget it. I'm not even going to have, not even for presents. It doesn't matter because nobody's calling me. So you look at things like that. It doesn't have to be zero. Maybe you're spending 10% of your marketing budget in a certain way, a print ad or something, and you're realizing you're getting a minimal return on investment. Then stop spending your money there. Go to where you're making the money.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And each community is different. That's what every area is so much different. I mean, if you contrast some areas, like, let's say, where you're at in California, Scottsdale, Arizona, Florida, and then you contrast that with the people like in Alaska or Maine, your service offerings, your pricing, everything is going to be different. I hate seeing people not taking advantage of the detailing community and asking questions, but I also hate people copying someone that's doing something that you're not going to be able to do. You're not going to be able to have the same kind of business in Maine that you are in Arizona or California or Florida. So model your business and your money management around your community. So your community has its own dollars and cents that it can handle, and you have to do the same thing in your community.
Yeah, for sure. So then you get into bookkeeping, and then you get into your CPA. Your CPA, your certified public accountant, is the person that takes your bookkeeping records and helps you get the best out of your tax returns. So there's that. And then let's talk about cash. Should I accept cash? Should I keep it separate? Should I not record it? This is always an interesting topic. So with cash, and let's face it, all of us keep some of our cash separate. That's just a fact of life. And if I'm going to get a $350 payment in cash, I'm probably going to take some of that and set it aside somewhere. But really, if you want to grow your business, you have to record all the income that comes through. If you want to be able to get that loan later on to expand your business, you've got to be able to show the records that you're making money. If you're keeping most of your cash separate and not recording it, that's a mistake. Because you really don't have an idea of how much money your business is actually making. And if you're keeping separate books, oh my gosh, talk about a hassle. Here's my cash book and here's my real book, on the record book. It's just,
right. Well, that comes back to paying yourself. I mean, build your salary into the business. Doesn't matter if you're a 1-person shop or if you're a 15-person shop, build your salary into it so that you don't have to do that. right? If you think about it as having an employee. Would you want an employee to stick half of your revenue in his pocket or her pocket because it's cash? No, you wouldn't. So work towards getting that to where everything goes through the books. Your salary comes out of those books. And that way you're part of the business, but it doesn't control you. You control it.
Right. For sure. So, and then, at some point you're running for a few months or a few years, and then you really want to take a hard look at your expenses.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine has a great approach to this, and I kind of adopted it. He looks at his expenses. He'll take a year and just look at his expenses and take a category like mobile communications and just hammer it. Take 1 month and hammer it. Where can I go to get good mobile communication service and stop paying these outrageous bills that I'm paying on my mobile communications? And another one might be supplies, just supplies in general. How can I lower my supply costs without sacrificing the quality of the product that I'm getting? Does it mean buying in larger quantities? Does it mean investigating pro discounts from the company? Does it mean finding different ways to order the product that maybe are less in the long run, but you get the same product? Take each one of those expenses and just really focus on it, one per month, and then try to figure out how to lower that. Okay. So that's an idea as well.
And it could be following the manufacturer recommended dosages.
Could be.
Just a thought there.
Read the free label.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
The other thing you want to do there is make sure that you are not buying every single product in the market just to have them. There's so many people that show these pictures of their supply cabinet and they have these tons of products and they're not using them. And I'm like, why? Why would you have a bottle of fill in the blank sitting around for 3 years? Use that.
Because I'm waiting for that blank to fill.
Yeah, and part of that is also building into the cost of your services, your supplies. Because when supplies become a line item that you're charging for, they become a lot cheaper because you're getting the money out of them. Years and years and years ago, in a land far away, I used to work at a large semiconductor manufacturing company, and I managed this department. And I had a huge budget. It was well over $1 million budget per year. And we would have the opportunity on any given day, because a vice president would walk in and go, I need your budget lowered by 10%. Now, it was very stressful, but it was also a really good lesson. And like you're saying, like Prentice is saying, take a month, but take your budget and say, can I reduce my budget by 10%? Can I reduce my supplies? Looking at things like, okay, well, last year I bought a bunch of stuff. I bought an extractor. I bought 2 polishers. This year I shouldn't have to buy those. That should reduce my equipment budget. But where else can I reduce costs? Because sometimes your costs that you want to reduce is not that $1,000 item. It's that, well, the company buys me a cup of coffee every single morning for $5. Maybe not do that. And
make your coffee at home.
Yeah, you can reduce your budget. So look at your budget, figure out ways to reduce it down, and
there's a local independent fancy coffee place that just their location, because they're so popular, there's always a line going around the corner. And I love on a Saturday morning driving by in the opposite direction. All the people are sitting in their cars, and I'm talking 20 cars back. And I always drive by and yell, make your coffee at home.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Not only are you sitting in line for 45 minutes, you're spending $10 on coffee. It's like, what is wrong with you?
Well, and $55 on gas.
Yeah, exactly.
So figure those things out to where you can lose it. And some of that, I agree with you. This comes into the second part of this, which is supply chain, right? And different part of that. This is a lot of that. I think people have had to do this in the last 2 years with the pandemic. Sometimes supplies weren't available, and you had to figure out very creative ways to get the things you needed and make stuff stretch a lot further.
Right. So you said something earlier about how to manage your money, and you were talking about looking at costs and pricing and all that. And I'll tell you another really important thing that goes into money management is taking really good care of the customer. Here's why. If you have customers that love what you do and tell other people, you're going to get more customers. If you don't have customers and you don't have a constant flow of customers coming in, you don't have work. So money management is a constant struggle. I would rather have so many customers that it's time to raise my prices, which means I have more money to play with. So, so definitely part of the program is, record keeping and all that, but also taking really good care of your customers. And that's true, again, regardless of the sophistication of your equipment, the array of chemicals. You can do great work and take really good care of people, and they'll love it, and they'll send more people to you. If you're doing half-assed work, you're not going to have that reputation. And you build that reputation, then you get to charge more for what you do. I love taking phone calls now where people say their first question is, how much is a detail? I almost want to say I don't do it because I don't want to be a smart ass. I'd rather be a dumbass. Oh, wait a minute. So I'd love to say to them, well, if you have to ask me, I'm not your detailer. But, typically they're coming to me because they've seen my reviews. They've seen my presence out there in social media. And I go, did you see my reviews? I mean, why are you questioning the price? That's what it is, man. And it's great to be able to say that. So I have enough customers where I'm comfortable saying no to some people.
So as you're coaching, different detailing businesses through Detail Academy, and also training at the PNS Detail Training Center, what is the biggest mistake or mistakes that you see detail business owners making when it comes to managing their money?
So the biggest thing is not charging enough. Yeah. That's the biggest problem. You got a guy that's I just talked to somebody who's applying ceramic coatings for $100. Like, what are you doing? You're so out of touch with that. And then not charging for the value of your service. So the example I love to give is removing pet hair. This is just a perfect example. You take the average car driver who has a big shaggy dog and they want to get rid of the pet hair on a weekend morning, and they've got a shop vac or whatever they've got, a home vacuum, and they're going to spend 2-3 hours vacuuming. You come in and you have some special tools for pet hair removal and some special techniques, and you could maybe get that done in 30-45 minutes. Okay, but I'm not going to charge for 30 to 45 minutes of labor. I'm charging for the value of taking 3 hours of work and bringing it down to 30 minutes. Right. That's important, because that customer doesn't know how to do that. And it goes the same with full service washes. They're going to spend all day washing their car. You can do it in 45 minutes, and it's a better job because you have the training, the equipment, and the techniques to do that. So charge for the value of it. And just in general, I mean, we're telling detailers that, you should be earning somewhere between $75 and $150 an hour. But that assumes you have good training and you have great processes and your prices are correct. All right. So you got to look at, that detail that takes you 5 hours and you're charging $200 for it. That's $40 an hour. Something's not right there. No. You're barely paying your expenses at that point. So make sure your pricing is good. That's a big mistake. And another one is getting caught up in, I need this machine and I need that machine, and half the machines they're talking about you don't really need. Like, a air compressor. That seems to be on everybody's beginning list. I got to get a compressor. Why? To blow out underneath the seat? A vacuum could take care of that. You don't have to have a compressor.
And people just need to get creative with stuff. I mean, you see all these videos. I was actually we were at a training a couple weeks ago. We were up at the Rupes Training Academy, and they literally, somebody asked a guy, there were, I can't remember, there's 8 or 10 people there, and somebody goes, have you seen that video where they take that little hand massager or a sander and put it on the thing, you get the carpet? And the guy's like, that's ridiculous. I bet that doesn't work. And one guy goes, it absolutely works. I do it. And he goes, and I didn't have to, he goes, I can do that and vibrate a lot of that dirt out of there. And he goes, and it gets it deeper clean. He goes, it's silly, but it works.
Right. Yeah. Little things like that. And, my first extractor was a little green clean machine by Bissell, and it worked pretty darn good. You know what? Now, as soon as I could, I went into a professional grade hot water extractor. But in the beginning, that worked just fine. All right. Yep. And it allowed me, my initial purchases, which were relatively inexpensive, allowed me to establish that reputation. That's why I keep going back to that. It's not just that you're saving money in the beginning, but it's establishing reputation. So I don't care how cheap of a machine you've got that you're working with. It's how good that car looks when you're done.
Yeah, it's meeting and exceeding expectations so that they want to tell somebody how awesome it is. That's the key. Is the first time you clean somebody's car and you find out that they told a friend and how awesome you did, that is what gets you excited and gets people coming in there. Like you're saying, if you're charging to where you're $40 an hour, you're not even covering the cost of your supplies. What are you doing? You're not making money at it. And everybody sees that person in their community. There's always that person in your community that will do a full detail with paint correction for $199. Ignore that person. Who cares?
That's not your competition.
That's every.
Nor are they gonna attract the customers that you want.
No,
I don't want people that are looking for the cheapest detail.
Yep. They're the bottom of the barrel customers.
Good quality. Yeah. So, that's a good one.
Let's talk about supply stuff.
Are we going to do that all at once?
Sure.
All right. So we're making money and supplies all at once?
I think I agree. They come in together. All
right. Well, we're still rolling.
Let me get my notes. So supply. First thing is you need to be using professional grade supplies, okay, especially with your chemicals. If you're going to the dollar store, you're wasting your time and you think you're saving money, but you're really not. Because here's the thing, your professional grade, specifically designed for auto detailing business, those types of chemicals are going to help you do better results faster. That's what you want. You want better results and you want them to happen faster. So buying your waxes and your glass cleaners and crap from the dollar store is not going to make it. Okay, you got to get into something professional as quickly as possible. Also, what does it look like if somebody's going to pay you X number of dollars for a professional detail and you show up and you open up your trunk and you pull out your box of chemicals and you've got, store brand chemicals.
Sudsy soap.
Yeah, and they're just looking at, like, this is what I'm paying for. I could do this.
Right.
You should As opposed to going with one of the big chemical manufacturers that has pre-labeled bottles and they all look beautiful and they're all properly labeled. And that's just not necessarily costing you that much more money, if at all, but it looks really cool. And then you're bringing something to the table that the customer doesn't really have access to per se. That's where it makes you look better as well.
I think that also you can charge more because of that.
Yes.
Regardless of what the chemicals and the equipment and everything are costing you, you can charge more because you are using professional equipment, professional supplies that are not just the standard stuff that you can go buy down the street at any box store. You've got to set yourself above that, because if the customer sees that you're using, Dawn dish soap and a sponge that they can buy at Home Depot, they're like, well, why am I paying this guy to do it?
Right,
so
exactly.
Because I use a sponge with the green side, so I can really scrub that off.
So that is, I think that falls into play as far as this why this also is with money management, because you've got to balance that out. Sometimes things are going to be more expensive. Again, you mentioned earlier a guy, somebody ceramic coatings for $100. Well, if you're spending $90 on a ceramic coating bottle of a high quality ceramic and then charging, that doesn't make sense. That's not a business.
So let's talk specifically, since we're on that topic, specifically on the consumables. That's going to be your chemicals that you're using every day. All right. So number one, go to a professional grade supplier. You don't have to use one chemical company for everything, but most of them should be coming from one chemical. And that choice might be a matter of convenience. Your local detail supplier carries a certain line. It also might be a matter of preference too. My preference for chemicals, but there's a lot of really good companies out there that make a great line of chemicals. So also go with concentrates whenever possible, because a gallon of water weighs 8.3 pounds. So why am I going to pay to ship 8.3 pounds of ready to use chemical when I can get a 4-to-1 dilution and pay for only 1 gallon of shipment, but make it myself and get 5 gallons out of it? Okay, so there's no sense in doing that. Go with concentrates and then follow the labels correctly, as Jody said, to dilute it correctly, so you're getting the best value of it. I would rather over dilute a little bit than under dilute. Higher concentration does not make it work better necessarily.
No, and it can leave
So
a residue.
concentrates are important. Then you want to look at your detail cabinet where your supplies are. This is critical because there's so many detailers I work with that are constantly running out of stuff. And they're calling me, hey, dude, do you have a gallon of this? Do you have a gallon of that? I'm like, dude, why don't you just order in? Lay in the supplies. And I recently, when I say recently, I've been doing this for a long time. Probably 5 years ago, I instituted a new practice. I've got a cabinet dedicated to my backup detailing supplies. I have I order in gallons because it's just me and one employee, so we're not using a ton of stuff. If you're doing 5 gallons, you can do it that way with 5 gallons. But I have my cabinet so that it's in their tandem columns. It's 1 chemical, 2 gallons of each chemical. All right. As soon as that gallon in front of that chemical is empty, time to order another gallon. So I always have a backup gallon of that chemical. I never run out. So let's say something is in shortage. I still have that backup gallon until it comes back or it gets back ordered or whatever. So that 2-bottle supply has really changed the ease of ordering too. Because then it's visual. You can just look at it and go, oh, I need a gallon of quick spray. Put a gallon of quick spray. Oh, we just used the last of the brake dust remover. Oh, put a gallon of that. And then I like to order when I've got maybe 4 gallons of stuff, because that's going to be the cheapest shipment. So establish something like that so you're never running low on your supplies. Here's another thing, especially with ceramic coatings. This blows me away how many people will wait to buy their ceramic coating kit until they have a paid job. So then they'll run over to the supplier at 6:30 in the morning and get their ceramic kit and go put on the ceramic coating. And then the next time they have them, they'll spend 35, 40 minutes going to the supplier to get another ceramic coating. If you're doing ceramic coatings, lay in 3 or 4 boxes of ceramic coatings. So you have it. You don't have to go get it every time you have a job.
And build that in.
You 5% of your profit.
Yeah, build it into your business model where you have supplies. That's as you talk about when we're talking about money management, your supplies are part of that. How much do I need to have on hand, and how much do I need to spend on that, and how much is it worth? Again, back to tracking stuff. If you have software or if you're using a pen and paper, track that, because you have ability to show an insurance company. A lot of times somebody's trailer will get stolen, somebody breaks into your shop, whatever. If you have something that shows the value of what you had, you can go to your insurance company and get repaid for that.
Right.
Cover your butt. So build that into your business model, and like with you, the amount of work you do, you have that 2-bottle supply. Until you've tracked that for a while, you won't know that. So keep it on hand. But you don't need to have 50 gallons on hand. You need to have what you need and a little bit more. And they call that par values. It's just like if you had a C-store. What is the par value? What do you need to have on hand at all times? And when it hits that level, order.
Yes. Don't wait for it to dip below that level. And it can go the opposite way too. This concept of buying in quantity to save money. It does make sense to a certain extent, but remember, you got to store that stuff, number one. Number two, some chemicals, like I once bought a gallon of paint sealant because it was taking me a long time, or I was going through a lot of paint sealant. But guess what? I didn't really use that thing up for about a year, and it did go bad. So some chemicals will go bad. So now I just order my paint sealant in quarts, because buying a gallon at a time just doesn't make sense. Yes, I'm paying a little bit more per unit, whatever that unit is, but I wasn't saving any money before because I had to throw half of it away.
You're wasting.
Yeah. So there's that factor as well. Also, if you're working with a distributor, or maybe you're ordering online from a supplier, see if they have professional rates. See if they've got a program. If you're a professional, you actually have a business, if you can get a discount rate. Some of them are, you get 20% off automatically on your total because you were running a business. So that's
they have wholesale pricing or jobber pricing or whatever that particular one has it.
Yeah.
The other one is certain companies, and I know that, we're talking about PNS has this program and other companies have it as well, is a distributor program or a reseller program. If you're not the volumes enough to be a distributor, at least you can have some on hand, because a lot of times your customers will be like, gosh, man, I love the way that looks when you bring it out. And, for a couple of weeks, there's something I can do. And you say, yeah, absolutely. Let me sell you this bottle of, bead maker or some kind of top coat that you can sell them. You can make a little bit of profit, but the idea there is it's making it easier for you to take care of their car.
Right.
Explaining to them, teaching them, and then that brings more money into you. That way you can help enhance the relationship. And as you mentioned at the beginning, build a business where there's recurring revenue. And that's what you're trying to do, is get that client to come back over and over. And you can count on that. If I look at my books and I go over the last 5 years, I know that Joan and Bob bring their car into me twice a year, every single year for the past 5 years. Now I've got a record and I've got a history with them that I can go back and say, hey, guys, there's a new process. I want to try it out on your car, and it's going to really enhance the paint even more.
Right. Exactly. Another thing with buying your consumables is, are you going to go pick it up, or are you going to have it delivered? This is an important concept. If that ceramic coating is kind of an extreme one, but if you're traveling an hour to get a coating kit because you have a coating job that day, you got to look at the expense of that hour of travel, not only from the gasoline standpoint, wear and tear on your vehicle, but also your time. Boy, that's a lot of time that you could be doing something else, marketing. So in some cases, you want to maximize your efficiency in how you pick up those chemicals. All right. Maybe you've got a local detailing supplier where you can go to one place, one storefront, and get 95% of the stuff you need at one shot. And that's where that ordering or that stocking concept comes into play as well too, because you can wait until you have a need for 3, 4, 5 gallons at one time, as opposed to having to run down there for 1 gallon at a time of your chemicals, and maximizing that efficiency. But also there might be some times when doing a delivery makes more sense. You gotta figure, having something delivered to your house. Yeah, you got to pay delivery fees, shipping fees, but sometimes that saves you a whole lot of money. I mean, that's what Amazon is built on, is saving people time and money. And you think of, if you're a big user of Amazon or some other kind of delivery company, how much time it saves you having to go to different shops to do your shopping. It all comes to your door. Same thing with your detailing supplies. Sometimes it makes more sense just to have it shipped directly to you and just buying directly from the company, or for some online superstore, super detailing store, where you can get everything in one spot and have it all delivered. And a lot of these online companies too will, if you order enough, you get free shipping. So there you go.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. So, and I keep them in again, read the label, look at your chemicals, keep them in the manufacturer recommended, temperature ratings and all that. If you live in a really hot or really cold temperature, you're going to want to look into that stuff, because most chemicals can't just sit in the 100-degree sun or the minus 20-degree weather and still function.
And some of the compounds and polishes will just go bad if they're just
break down. Yeah.
We had a sample. Somebody sent us a sample, and came in a really small box, and it does not handle the Idaho cold weather.
It did not
at all.
survive.
It went from a compound to a liquid extremely fast.
Yeah.
So look at those things and follow the directions there. And if it's got a shelf life, if it's got not necessarily an expiration, but if you know it's only going to last so long, again, like Prentice said, don't order tons and tons of it.
Right. I'll tell you another thing about chemicals too. It being in the position that I am, and I go to a lot of trade shows, I've been the recipient of a lot of free product. I remember going to ICA and WCA in Vegas, and I would always drive there because you had the detail suppliers, and they didn't want to pay to have their stuff shipped back. So I'd end up with all this free gallons of this and free gallons of that. And I'll tell you, a lot of that sat around in my garage in the cabinet, and I just never got around to using it because I found other stuff that worked really well. There's no reason to. And one day I just got so fed up with it. I went through my cabinets and I took all the stuff that I'd never used or used once and stopped using it, and I put it in a box. And in San Diego, we have a household hazardous waste program where on a Saturday morning you can make an appointment and you just bring it all over there, and they just take it and they take care of it, and it's free. Now, you may or may not have that in your community.
You do.
But I'll tell you, there's something really cleansing about getting rid of all that old stuff that I really was never ever going to use. And then I just felt so free. And then I had all this leftover cabinet space to fill with good stuff that I know I'm going to use on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Yeah,
and if nothing else, I'll tell you what, some of it I sold on OfferUp, and you'd be amazed. People come out of the woodwork for a gallon of X polish, whatever polish it is, and they sell it for $5. They're at your doorstep in 2 seconds, and it's out of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, get rid of the stuff that's just sitting around that you're never going to use.
Well, that's cool, man. I think this has been a very productive conversation because I think a lot of times, people look at money management and they just think like investing, right? And we've looked at it from a practical point. All right, how do I manage my business finances in a way that keeps me supplied, it keeps me growing, it allows me to go, all right, if I have these goals, I need to set aside this kind of percentage on my money so that I can achieve these goals. And it really does become a proactive marriage between every aspect of your business, especially in detailing, because money management and your supplies are critical to your success, combined with training, knowledge, and phenomenal customer service.
Absolutely.
If you can get all 5 of those, you're guaranteed to have success.
Yeah, for sure. Can we touch on equipment just a little bit?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got a few minutes and then we'll wrap it up. But yeah, that's important.
I want to circle back around to equipment because it's really easy in this industry, especially the way it is now. Those of you who are just getting into detailing and you're kind of looking around at what's happening around the country and really around the world in detailing, this is a spectacular time. It's never been anywhere close to the way it is now as far as information availability, respect for detailing as an industry, the equipment that we have available to us, the types of chemicals. It's never been like this. And it just keeps getting better. Just when you think we've reached the plateau and we're good for a while, something else happens that makes it a little better. So I will say this, that it's easy to get caught up in all that visual social media and online about fancy equipment and fancy setups. And I'd say if you're just starting out, don't necessarily get caught up into that. Yes, you can have it as a goal down the line, but you can make a lot of money without the latest, greatest, fanciest equipment. I would say, yes, at some point you need to make a decision that that particular piece of equipment is going to allow me to make more money. That's really what it comes down to. And you got to look at each piece of equipment that you're going to buy. Is it really going to allow me to make more money? And there are 2 ways to make more money. One is you are providing a service that you couldn't provide before because you have a piece of equipment to do it. And number 2 is it going to make your current operation more efficient, significantly more efficient? And that's where I look at things like, does a compressor really add to the efficiency of my business? Not really. I can dry the outside of a car with a leaf blower. I don't need a compressor.
Right.
Just decisions like that. And do I need a $2,000 vacuum? No, there are excellent vacuums out there for under $500 that are going to last you forever. So make those decisions very carefully. And I recommend you get with somebody, consult with somebody, even if it's just a phone call. Hey, I'm thinking about, what polisher should I get? I really don't know. There's all these choices. Which one should I get? And talk to somebody who has a reasonable attitude about it. It's like, okay, well, you could spend this much money on a polisher, or you could get this one over here, which is going to treat you really well for a couple of years, help you make a ton of money, and then you can go get the big fancy one later because you'll be making a lot of money. That's my two cents on equipment. Like I said, when I first started, I didn't do carpets at all because I didn't know how to clean them. Then I got a Bissell little green clean machine, and I had that for a year or two. Then that allowed me to provide carpet cleaning service, which guess what? I got to charge more money. Then I actually invested in a professional grade hot water extractor. So, and the rest is history. So anyway.
Right.
Little by little.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, again, it goes all the way back to the beginning of this, is set a plan in motion. What do you want to provide? What don't you want to provide? Right? So I always go back to Diana Balboni. She's a small gal, and she says, I don't do giant trucks. That's not her goal. Don't go after that business. Go after the business you want to go after, and do it the way that you need to make money and stay in business.
Yes. Diana Balboa might be a small gal, but she is a large person.
Yeah, she
absolutely.
Is,
She's huge. Yep.
Well, we want to thank you, for joining us for another episode of the Business 101 series. I mean, we really are trying to break down key elements that will help you guys be successful. Please, if you need some additional coaching and some help, reach out to Prentice St. Clair. His number is rolling along the bottom, as well as his website. And you guys know we're always here, from the systemic side, the business side with software. We're always glad to help you. Plus, we just love talking business. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Any last words from you?
Just go hit that subscribe button to help us keep providing these for you guys.
And we will check you same time, same bad channel, just next episode. See ya.